Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.
Everybody, welcome back. We have discussed how this war will end and when will this war will end. We've all been discussing some, whether it'll end in weeks or it carry on for months. We don't know. The price of the oil already shooting up. So the analysts are saying, yes, it could touch 150, 175, who knows, even 200. There have been losses in the stock market as well. A common man, whether you're in Europe, North America, Middle East, Asia, we're all facing the heat. But I want to discuss how this war is going to end. I think as much as I know, Israel would want this war to carry on because the sole objective of Israel is very clear. They want to weaken the Iranian regime, the Iranian military bases as much as possible. And they know they have a limited window. This is what I would assume. I think I've already said this, the buck stops with Trump. Whether you can ask Pete Hegseth, he was asked, he said Trump will answer. I doubt any of the cabinet ministers has any answers. The US Secretary of War or Treasury Secretary, you can ask the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I don't think so that anybody has any answer to this. The buck stops with Trump. And as much as they might listen to Israel, but I doubt Israel has that much of a leverage. Your take.
When you say you doubt Israel has that much of a leverage, then what started the war? I mean, I think we need to understand why President Trump even went into this war if in all the ways it looks, it's not winning this war. The objective of regime change, okay, that didn't happen. The country's carried on. It's lost 13 to 15 of its own soldiers, of American citizens, with hundreds more that have been wounded or hospitalized. It's taken, oil through the roof in terms of pricing. It's like you said, it's affected the markets. Now they're talking about Strait of Hormuz, where it was already open. So now that's a new thing. So when you say you doubt Israel has leverage, I think, how did we even get to here? Right? Because so far, Israel's always said that they defended themselves into Gaza because they were hit first, right? October 9th. Then now we're seeing in Lebanon what's happening because they said they were hit first by Hezbollah. But Iran in this war, did not hit Israel, right? It was what we know from Secretary of State Marco Rubio is that Israel was going to hit Iran. They were going to escalate, and not escalate, sorry. They were going to, hit Iran. They were going to bomb Iran. And the reason the United States decided to do it because they had the information that Iran would retaliate by also hitting United States. And we know from the history of Iran's wars, they don't start a war. So to think that if Israel did hit Iran, that Iran would hit United States, and that's why United States joined, the logic there doesn't actually stand. And if that is the case, let's say that is the case, let's say Iran would have hit the United States just because Israel hit, then wouldn't it make more sense to get Israel not to start the war? So we're in the situation that we're in, affecting all of these countries we just listed because of a leverage that a country has, right? We know that Bibi Netanyahu has said this war he's dreamed of for 40 years in Iran. And we're seeing that while this war is carrying out, he gets to take 10% of Lebanon that no one's talking about because everyone else is talking about this war in Iran and everyone's talking about oil prices and how it's affecting the entire region and the global economy. Lebanon is left to have no one to defend it. And no one's really talking about it. No one's really doing anything about it. No one's standing up to Israel about it. So leverage looks pretty good from these angles that we just talked about, quite a lot of leverage. And why has this escalated? Why are we talking about boots on the ground, right? If President Trump says, "Oh, you guys handle the Strait of Hormuz," then why send American soldiers to mountainous regions of Iran where they're at a disadvantage to occupy Iran? Why? Why not send IDF? Why not send Israeli soldiers to those areas? Why? These are valid questions. These are not idiotic questions. These are just trying to understand, why all this is happening. So leverage looks pretty good on the side of the only country that seems to be expanding its borders. That is Israel, who started this war. It's expanding its borders, taking 10% of Lebanon's land, having almost 1 million people displaced that cannot go back to their own homes, and no one's doing anything about it. And Russia, that didn't start this war, yes, they are in a position where they're selling their oil, and they're able to take what they probably eventually will in Ukraine. And so this is the reality of the situation. So leverage is where the country started this war. And if we're talking about how this will end, I think it relies on the country that has the leverage on the biggest superpower of this world, which is the United States up to now. They have the biggest military. They have unlimited funding. They'll figure it. They'll get the funding they need to. They have the technology. So whoever controls this administration has the leverage. And so far, this administration doesn't look like has very clear understanding of what's happening, clear objectives, clear communication, clear end results. We don't know where this is going to end, what it takes for them to say it's going to end. So the country that controls this administration, or sorry, not the country, because this is not about the Israeli people, or the Jewish people, this is about Benjamin Netanyahu. This is about Bibi, who controls this administration and the narrative and the talking points through Jared Kushner. Because when they were at the negotiation tables 2 days before this war started, they said that they were going to reach a negotiation. Oman said they were. Other countries that were present said they were. So this is a situation where this would have been prevented. And then you had Jared Kushner, who was at the meetings. He went to his father-in-law and said, Israel's going to hit, and they're going to go ahead, and Iran is going to hit us, so we must join Israel. That was the advice. This is President Trump's own words. I wasn't in the room. I only know this because President Trump said these things. And then we had Marco Rubio repeat these things again, these words again. So again, on leverage is who controls this administration and the narrative of it. And this administration has not been clear about what they want to achieve from day to day. And this is normal for President Trump. He changes his mind. He says this, he says that. But they are the superpower. And we know that the two world leaders, Israel and the United States, they've been seeing each other multiple times in the United States. Hey, they even rang in the New Year together. So I think saying that Israel doesn't have leverage, I think otherwise. I beg to differ.
Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.